I will be talking about like what I keep in my head referring to as like 101 level of Breeze agents and assistants. And then friend of the show, friend of the pod, Nico will be joining a little later, and he will go into more more advanced use cases and potentially correct me. We'll see. But for people, I was just kind of chatting about this with a friend this morning, and if you are here and you are like myself, who is not an AI super user, I recommend at least looking at HubSpot's like built-in agents, as well as starting to utilize HubSpot's built-in assistant, Breeze Assistant in the top corner. These take no configuration basically, and work pretty well out of the box. If you're unfamiliar with the assistants themselves, you can go over to the Breeze Marketplace over here, and then I like to scroll all the way to the bottom and explore all, because otherwise it filters them, and I don't even know how those filters work. But there's a ton of assistants or agents. There's a ton of agents built in. Most of these right now are in beta, and while they're in beta, they don't use any credits. So I've been telling my clients, like, use them while you can. There's not really a downside right now, because they don't use any credits. A couple that I've tested recently, this week, I was testing the blog research agent. You can truly open this up, set your blog, and then it will give you suggestions for topics. It'll even write potential blog posts for you. And all you do is you select your blog in HubSpot here and say what your blog topics are, and then it will do the rest. There's no configuration needed. I've also done the call follow-up or call recap agent. You just paste your transcript and it will write a follow-up email for you. And it will even connect it to HubSpot, so you can send it straight out of HubSpot to the contacts. So some nice use cases without having to do much of anything. But if you're ready to customize, then you'll want to come over to the Breeze Studio. And at the top here, you have add new agent, add an assistant, but then there's also these options to add a new agent and create a new assistant. I personally get really mixed up with the language here between assistants and agents. So I would like to kind of start there, for no other reason than my own my own help here. So assistants are these like chatbot-y type situations that you probably often find yourself using. So if you're using ChatGPT, if you're using Claude, the assistant is going to act more like that. And the difference one of the big differences is that the assistants are available anywhere you are in HubSpot. So if I am editing an email, get out of here. I have access to my assistant right in here. One thing that I actually just this week realized is that it moves over here sometimes to collaborate with assistant. So if you are like me and we're like, where is the assistant? It's right over here. Just click that little sparkle button. But those are going to be your assistants, the things you can ask questions to. It's more going to be a conversational piece, and that can kind of talk to you and talk through actions. The agents on the other side are built and focused on specific domains. So when I go, so many pop-ups, get out of here. When I go into the call recap agent, it exists here. I have to come into this space to interact with my agent. Also, agents are a little more personalized and like task driven compared to the assistant, which is going to be a little more conversational. You can ask an assistant to do things, but an agent is going to, by default, be performing a task. So when I enable this call transcript agent, it will write a call summary for me, log that to my CRM, and create a email follow-up. If I wanted to do that with an assistant, I would have to ask the assistant, hello, assistant, here is my call transcript. Now I would like you to do this thing. Agents are really like built for a specific task. Did I explain that in words that made any sense? Silence usually means I'm doing a great job.
Yes, you did.
The assistant is more of an interactive helper, and the agents are a little more autonomous and specialized executors of tasks. Many of the agents can even be configured to work autonomously. So this recap agent, I would have to input my transcript, but there are agents that will just work. You set the like trigger almost like a workflow, versus assistants are always going to be self guided. If you are just getting started here, I mentioned checking out the built-in agents. I also, I think I touched on this, but just trying out Breeze's assistant here is a great place to start. The assistant, Breeze Assistant on the sidebar, I find to be an easier starting place because it operates similar to ChatGPT or Claude, things that I'm already using. So I'm kind of used to how that interaction goes. So it tends to be a nice starting place, but this assistant already has the context of your CRM. So when you interact with this, unlike if I was interacting with ChatGPT, where I would have to like add context around my business and who my targets are, Breeze Assistant has that already because it's inside of your HubSpot portal. My needier dog is being needy here. So definitely recommend starting there. But let's go over. I'm going to start with the Create Assistant, just to kind of demo where the tools are and how you can kind of set them up and use them. So the assistant, again, this is the one that would be accessible anywhere in your portal. You can create a new assistant. Here is where you can customize the welcome message. This is for context setting for the human, not context setting for the AI agent. So this is just going to say when the agent or when the assistant, when the assistant gets activated, turned on, it's going to say, hello, welcome, I am this person, and I can help you with this. These assistants can be used by other people in your portal. So that's where it's like context setting for the person who is interacting with the assistant. Then there are instructions. This is where you are setting the context for our robot friend here. So you'll see the example here. You're an internal support assistant for employees trained to answer questions about internal processes, policies, and how-to guides. Only answer based on documents you've been given. If something isn't covered directly, direct the user to escalate or contact support. Keep responses clear, concise, and friendly. Aim to be helpful without over-explaining. So if you're used to using a chatbot, you may be writing prompts like this in your day-to-day interactions. I am notoriously kind of lazy with mine, but the more details you get, the better results you're going to get. And this is where you would be doing that context setting. You can edit this, and you probably should after getting some feedback, after some testing, to see if, are the results as concise as you want? Are they too friendly? Things like that. Beneath that, you'll have the option to set information the assistant can access. So you can give the assistant access to browse the internet as well as read your HubSpot CRM records. If those buttons aren't selected, it won't have that information. It won't be able to do that. And whether or not you want either or both of those selected is really going to depend on your intended use of the assistant. I created an assistant a couple weeks, a month or two ago. Couldn't have been that long. But the purpose of my assistant was to help me write social media posts after I do a morning live show where we review all of the updates from that day in HubSpot. And I built an assistant whose entire purpose was to help me draft social posts related to that live. I may not want that assistant to browse the web because it may pull in things that we didn't discuss, and it might just kind of add some things to it. And in fact, I went to use it a couple of days ago, and I asked it to categorize that day's topics, the topics that we covered on that day's show, based on the blog topics we have set inside of HubSpot. It immediately went off to the web to search what common blog topics are, and it very much got lost in the sauce. So in that case, I may not want it to browse the web. I might want to keep it only internal and only have the information inside of HubSpot. Alternatively, you may want the external information. If you're setting this up to help you create content, you may want it to browse the web and know what kind of new things are happening in the industry that you're writing for, or for the persona, for the ICP, ideal customer profile, that you have. And then honestly, often you might want both. You might want it to see what's going on in your own portal as well as on the greater web of things. Beyond these options, you can add knowledge. Knowledge vaults are really the base of many of both the agents and assistants. These knowledge vaults are a grouping of information. I, a couple months ago, ran a whole program around lead scoring. I developed ahead of the sunsetting of the historic property. I spent truly months using a single thread in ChatGPT because I didn't want to lose the context from my previous conversations as I continued. I see Adam making a face. That's because ChatGPT got slow as hell and confused as ever as I kept doing this. Exactly. You're exactly right, Adam. It started dropping stuff. It started getting confused. It would talk about random things all the time. Knowledge vaults help. What I should have done is, well, first I probably should have paid for ChatGPT so I could have a knowledge vault, but knowledge vaults are where you can store information. So if I used a knowledge vault, in that case, I would have kept my base of my scoring process philosophy in there. I would have added transcripts from my training sessions. I might have uploaded any documentation about scoring and things like that. Then the assistant, in this case, would have all of that knowledge, but you'd be able to start different threads. So when I asked ChatGPT, or in this case, if I asked this assistant who had all of that knowledge to help me write a social post promoting an upcoming session, it wouldn't write an email to somebody random because it got confused because I asked them to do that 6 months ago. It's really a way to kind of keep the assistant informed without causing confusion and delusion. If you're creating a knowledge vault, you'll just come in here. You can name it. So if I was doing, I would add a better description maybe, but probably not. But in here, I can add files and I can add CRM objects. Files are files. You can upload up to 20 from your computer. They can be HTML, PDFs, or Word docs, I don't know, all of those things. So I like to upload them as PDFs just because it tends to like upload cleaner. I feel like a lot of times when I try to upload like a doc, it's not a docx or something. I just like don't bother. But that's where you would upload any of the information that you'd want. Moving back to the example like giving us here, the FAQ assistant, if you are supporting internal employees on processes and policies, how-to guides, you'd want to import any of those internal documents. Another common use case of the assistant specifically would be any of your like HubSpot best practices, like for your account. I have in the past created what I call HubSpot Bibles, HubSpot user guides. They never get read. Because they're 50 pages long and they refer to every custom property and every workflow that does this other crazy thing. And it's overwhelming. You could, in theory, upload that. And then when someone's like, hey, what's this property do? The assistant would know that right out of the gate. You can also add CRM objects here. I mentioned how I created an assistant that was going to be used to write social posts for me. We added all the blog posts about that podcast. Have a blog every day, so we added all the blog posts to the knowledge base, so it had a historical context on the types of things that we covered, as well as like the tone and voice from that. But you can add specific contacts, companies, deals, and things like that. This is like kind of, it can be a little tedious. So in this case, if I wanted to look at closed won deals and add that to the vault, I could do that. But I'd have to add like all the filters here. That one was actually a little easier. The blog post one was annoying because I had to like select every blog post I wanted to enter, and that was really annoying. But yeah, lots of options here. For the FAQ assistant, if you were using this with like a support team, you might want to add some old tickets that were like resolved to give the AI agent all the information on like resolved tickets. That might give some extra context. I'm in my head even thinking about how I can use an assistant to help inform what our lead scores should be. And what I'm like thinking is I would want to upload my files about what I believe lead scoring should look like. And then I want to add all of the companies with closed won deals or all of the contacts with closed won deals, and then ask the assistant to help me identify what we should actually use in our lead scores. Just to be clear, the difference between like a knowledge base and these action pieces, when I added a knowledge base, I was able to add like a segment of my CRM versus if I select this, read your CRM records, my understanding is that would read my entire CRM. So that's the difference there. If you don't want it to read your entire CRM, you would want to add a like segmented version of your CRM as a knowledgeful. But I might be wrong there if anyone has corrections for me. Very good at being wrong. And then lastly, you can manage access. So I mentioned you can have these assistants work for everyone, or you can kind of only have it accessible to certain people, depending on the assistant, might vary. Creating an agent is very similar in structure in many ways. So you can still do the what agent can do, browse the web, access your CRMs. You can also add knowledge vaults the same way. By default, agents will have access to your products and services, your ideal customer profile, and your brand. If you don't have those sections in settings set up, I definitely recommend you set those up before you kind of get too far with agents or assistants, because those will be kind of the foundation for many of these things, even the default ones that you're not like customizing and building yourself. But you can also add those custom knowledge vaults that we were talking about as well. Tools. Unlike the assistants, the agents also have access to add tools. Add tools is a long list of things, but it includes the ability to take actions. And this is what's kind of difference about assistants and agents is the assistant you can ask to take actions. The agents you can add in here as a tool to take action. I mentioned at the top that the main difference between assistants and agents is assistants are kind of conversationally led, where agents are, you design them and then they are built to kind of like go off. You can scroll through, there's a ton of different actions or tools, whatever. Some of these are even based on integrations. We have clone attack in here. There's a ton. I definitely haven't used all of them or even looked at all of them probably, but it is kind of cool. This create association between records is very interesting to me. I find workflows to be a little clunky with associations. So I'm wondering if an agent might be able to do that in a cleaner way. So check those out. And then you can still give your agent instructions. This is going to be that prompting piece. Nico's here, and Nico is a much better prompter than I am. I said already, I'm a lazy prompter. And so I'll let him kind of give more tips and stuff on that. But similar to the assistant, you're able to manage access here as well. This is going to be, in my opinion, even more important for the agents who has access to them, because you may not want everyone to be able to create associations or clone records and things like that. So keep that in mind as well. Any questions on where to access these, the different components of them. My 101 level. If not, I can tag Nico in and he can go to 600 level or whatever. Skyrocket us. If you don't know Nico already, Nico is he works at a partner agency, RIO Harvest. That's not right. Harvest ROI.
Yeah, Harvest ROI.
I don't know. I had a dyslexic moment there. Pardon me, everyone. But more importantly, Nico is one of the teachers on the AI bootcamp, and he is the creator of Hub Helper Harry, which is my favorite thing is that I know the creator of Hub Helper Harry.
Yeah. So thank you, first and foremost, and definitely glad to be able to talk to you guys about like agents and what you can do with them and HubSpot and even outside of HubSpot. So one of the places that I'll start is, yeah, like talking about the difference between agents and assistants. It's really not too it depends on like your knowledge, I guess, of like generative AI. So if you're used to working with ChatGPT, then you're probably used to working with GPT-8 or like GPT custom GPTs. And that being the case, you basically assistants are essentially they're like a easier version of that, in my opinion. It's the same framework. You're just giving a prompt, giving it some data, and then asking it to perform its functions. Where agents come into being like a little bit more than that, or a lot more than that, is that like an assistant basically starts and stops at recommendations, and it's great for going about that deep. But if you're trying to actually perform functions, both like inside the CRM and outside the CRM, that's going to be where an agent comes in, because it has that tool functionality and it can actually access things outside of your system. And I definitely wanted to show you guys one agent or like one tool I've built in particular that I'm playing around with lately that I wish I had a really good example for. But I still, don't worry. I have brought things to play with. So the one thing that I've been talking to people about is ICPs and like ideal customer profile, like what that means. And to me, ICP is like, it's like Moby Dick. It's just a white whale. It's this thing that you've put together, that you've talked to some marketing professionals, no offense, that came to your company and said that they know everything about you, and they know everything about your customer, and they know everything about your competition. And they swear that if you let them build your ICP, that you'll make more money than you've ever made before. And in some cases, it's possible. And in some cases, it actually happens, depending on like the tech that gets used, and depending on like the methodologies that get used, like it could happen. But we live in a new age now, and we're capable of doing something that we've quite literally never been able to do before at scale, that has only been effective and available for companies that are pretty much large or enterprise scale, that are willing to spend the money to do it. And at the same time, talking about spending that money and time to do it, you're talking about like tens of thousands of dollars back in the day, and at least 3 weeks to 2 months of time to try to figure out something that you really needed yesterday. That being the case, you now have tools like deep research, and you have tools like agents that you can basically turn around and point at your CRM and have them go take care of finding out all of that information. So one of the frameworks that I've put together that I'm not, not trying to, what do you call it? Make revenue off of. It's just a new idea that I want everybody to start using. It's called ACP, and it's your actual customer profile. And your ACP is based on all the business you've already been doing, right? So when it comes to like trying to build your ideal, that's who you're trying to go after. But your actual is who is actually buying from you. And just starting at that layer and looking internally at like all your closed won deals over the last year, over the last 2 years, if you want to, I suggest last year or shorter, and being able to see, okay, based on these closed won deals, let's take a look at the pattern, not just of the deal and the deal amount, and not just of the deal amount and the rep that was associated. But let's take a look at the deal. Let's take a look at the call. Let's take a look at the note. Let's take a look at the rep. Let's take a look at the rep's history. Let's take a look at what the rep's history is for those types of businesses. Let's look at that type of business. And then let's pull it all together and define who that is. Okay. And then let's try to build segments out of these things, right? So now we have this actual representation of, oh, okay, people at this revenue with this type of company actually prefer to be talked to this way based on what our call outcomes have been, based on what the notes have been, based on what we've seen in tickets. And we've built this entirely new form of looking at the way in which we speak to our customer. Not only that, but we're now able to take this very solidified and defined customer and go into a new social channel like Perplexity or Gemini or wherever you want to go and say, hey, search social and find out where this profile hangs out. What are other companies that are like this profile? What are other accounts that kind of mimic this? Where do they spend their time online so that I can go and reach out to them? I can go market to them. Now I know where to be putting my marketing efforts because I know where they spend their time. Not only that, everybody talks. Everybody in a company talks. So go on social. Hey, this profile that I've got, what is it that they complain about the most in terms of XYZ product that you are trying to sell? Okay, that now becomes your top 3 features that you're going to implement next month and you're going to push, right? But you didn't even know that because you didn't know that that information was out there because you weren't really able to keep your ear to the ground like that. But now you can in like a 5-minute search of Perplexity, right? You can go even further, right? You can do deep research on social channels as well. So you can have Perplexity deep research into a social channel. You can have GPT do the same thing. And building all of this context is what is going to allow you to really strengthen that profile. And then what I love, which I can't really show you, but it's an idea that I hope everybody gets into. When it comes to AI, what I've seen is a lot of like AI first, and that doesn't mean anything to me because none of it is. What AI first would really mean to me is that you don't have to think about what it is you're going to interact with. It already understands you and understands how to work with you. What does that look like? If you're working with your sales team and you're trying to get your entire sales team to like understand, hey, this is the best method. We've got this book. We've got the playbooks. We've got the calls. All you got to do is follow this recipe and you'll be able to close deals. That never works. It takes forever. And not everybody can move to the same beat. So why? We live in a day and age now where you can have agents go out and qualify customers and then go look at your sales reps and take a look at the history of deals they've closed versus deals that they've lost. Start building out a profile of the people for the deals that they win. And now let's go back to our ACPs and find those people and funnel them directly to that sales rep because that sales rep knows how to deal with those people the best. And now it doesn't matter if that sales rep is using our method or not. They're just really good at talking to those people because that's what sales is at the end of the day. It's whether or not you can relate to somebody, relate to their problem and help them solve it. So now they're talking to the exact people that want to hear from them because they know how to talk that language. They don't have to learn some ridiculous method of like, oh yeah, use these playbooks. And well, if it doesn't work, then you're not doing this right. And we're going to have to put you on a performance thing. Like, no, it should be the case that you walk into whatever the sales position is. Here's what the profiles are. Take a look at them. what types of these profiles seem to navigate towards you, or which ones do you think are ones that you can work with? Fine, we start you out there. And then you're measuring your reps' performance over time, and you're able to measure through their deals won or deals closed. Hey, are they getting towards that ACP, or are they skewing towards a different profile actually? Right. So with this agent, which will show you another one that I think you guys are really going to love. What it does is it goes through your CRM, right? And it basically acts as a GTM strategist. Takes a look at essentially your company balanced against your company in its industry, in its sector, what it is that you do, who you actually compete against. And then it comes back and it starts taking a look at, okay, what's going on in your system? What do your deals look like? We're only looking at closed won because I only care about what you actually sell. I don't care about what you missed out on, because that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me, and it doesn't matter to you either. It shouldn't, right? The whole like, oh, I missed the deal because of bad timing. We all know it's horseshit. You missed the deal because something happened, and that guy said, I'll come back 2 weeks from now. So then you've got your profiles built out. You've got your customer clusters that are put together for you. It's going to analyze each of those clusters to break it down into further, does all the research for you, right? All the company research, basically. Looks at what the, does an inference on that data to be able to further identify, because the whole point is like, okay, well, we don't want to just create this firmographic funnel that these people fall into. That's what you do with ICP. Who cares? That doesn't mean anything. So we want to take those firmographics, and then we want to go take a look at the industry, and then we want to go take a look at people that are just like them, and then we want to go take a look at where they hang out at, and does all of this stuff match up? And if it does, what does that look like, right? Then after that, we're taking a look at the win-loss analysis, right? So we can take a look at the sales rep, and then we're calculating something that no one ever calculates, and it makes me so upset, because you should know this number the moment I ask you, but every single business I have talked to in the last 3 months does not know the answer to this question, and it floors me. What is your customer lifetime value? Why is that so hard to answer? You sell a product, don't you? And you have an average sales cycle, right? And you have an average customer retention cycle, right? Why don't you know that number? Because you're doing too much business too fast. You're expanding too quickly. You got to hire people. Your CRM's a mess. You don't have time to go back and clean it up. You don't have time to fix it. And then you're looking back and you're like, wow, geez, now I got to go walk out and spend 20 grand on some firm to be able to come in here, look at my data, and tell me what's actually going on. No. You need to work with some prompting. You need to work with either an inside agent, or you can work with ChatGPT through deep research and HubSpot connector. And you need to start doing research on the data that you already have, so that you can actually make like a positive move forward in what it is that you're looking at. Okay, so blah, 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 blah. What does this all look like at the end of the day? Looks like this punch out here. I mean, you can see when the agent runs, you can see that it's going through the entire prompt of stuff that it has to go through. Then you can see that it's doing its ACP planning, creates an execution checklist, which is awesome. So you know exactly what the steps are going to be. Takes all the steps that it needs to take. At the end of the day, it comes back with our analysis profile that you can link to somebody if you need to, export it as a PDF. So if you needed to then turn this into a board report that you got to send off to the board, awesome. Export it as a PDF. Maybe take this over to Gamma. If you don't know about that, get into it. Take this over to Gamma, throw that in there. You got your deck done. Literally, like that easy, right? So you hit the button on the agent. Probably depends on your data. Usually takes about a minute, but I guess if you have a lot of data, it might take like 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes to do like several weeks worth of research on your CRM. You're welcome. So after that's done, you got your customer types already broken down for you, nice and easy, right? Key takeaways, because the output of this is designed to be for decision makers and for those people up top that like don't want to look at wall of text. I need to see like very easy stuff that explains what it is that you just did, right? So we're looking at like, okay, how good is the data that we've even got? Where are we limited? What's the sample sizes look like that we did? So not only like, hey, this is what we're looking at, but here's also the work that we're doing. Because you're going to have that question at the end of the day. They're going to ask you, they're going to say, okay, but how did you get that? Where did you come up with it? Right? So have that done for you too. All right, let's take a look at IT companies and what that profile looks like. Here's what the numbers are. Here's who those people are specifically, locations that they exist in the most physically, decision makers from those types of companies. So who we should even target within the company, right? Company stages. So where they should be at before we should even start talking to them, or at least what sizes we should talk to, what makes them tick. This is all the stuff that you guys would get from an ICP report, isn't it? It's all the same stuff, only this is your data, and this is what actually matters, and these are your people. Yes, Casey.
This is a test portal.
Yeah.
How much data do you need to like actually, because I have a lot of clients that I guess specifically, like, I feel like call transcripts are this like magical piece of like wonderful data that I don't see a lot of portals that have call transcripts. So I guess I'm just wondering, like, how well does this work, or is this a like you need call transcripts in your CRM because then we can do this? Is that the conversation?
It's the stronger your data is, the stronger your profiles become. So this becomes a partner tool right out the gate, because, hey, here's what your profiles are, but here's, right, we scroll back up to the beginning, we'll say, like, here's what the limitations are. If we had this, right, and I could build another aspect to this. I have this built as a GPT as well, that, you know, you can go further into, but you could take this over to the GPT and be like, okay, well, give us, or even take the whole report and say, here's the output, here's my client, help me to bridge the gap on telling me, like, what are they missing that we can talk about, that my company offers, where we can pitch them services, and how should I speak to them about it? When should I even talk to them about it in the conversation? Right? Like, you can data mine as if it were Minority Report.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be doing that if you're trying to gain advantage in your marketing efforts. And is it as scary as it sounds? I don't know. If I come up to you and have a conversation with you that you actually want to have and you give a shit about, what's it worth to you? Right? As opposed to me coming up to you and being like, hey, Casey, you want to buy my mattresses? I got plenty of mattresses. I know you're not in the market for it, but your back hurts a lot. You really ought to take care of your body. Why? I'm just going to go to the channel that Casey's talking in, where she's like, oh God, my back hurts. I wish I had a great mattress. I'm going to pop in there and I'm just going to reply in thread. I'm going to be like, oh, wow, really? You should check out this place. They actually, you know, they got some pretty decent mattresses, and they work with you on whatever it is. Just like you see on Facebook, right? Whose recommendations are you taking when you're in a Facebook thread and you're going down on a product or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at people who are replying and saying, like, yeah, this is really great. Yeah, it actually works. Like, yeah, this is awesome. You're not looking for people that are like, you know, that are just replying and oh, is it cool? Like, oh, does it work? And like, when you see a lot of that and no replies beyond it, you know, like, hey, maybe this product is not everything it's being made out to be, right? So having that conviction, having that extra layer of being able to be personable, deliver value, right? Go where somebody is looking for you to be instead of just trying to drive them to you.
Mm-hmm.
Inbound is awesome. It really is. Outbound sucks, obviously. I don't know what you call this method. I don't care. I'm not trying to build labels, but it is obviously the newer way of going after leads. And I don't even think about it like using this method for once. I don't think about it as like going after leads or hunting down clients or hunting down prospects. I'm just selling my stuff to the people that are looking for it. It becomes so much easier and takes away so much more friction.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a dumb question, but I noticed in the previous screen, it's asking for a web URL. So it's pretty easy. I mean, it's very much what it looks like when you run the agent in portal. This is it. So like when you have it open in your HubSpot, these aren't, so these agents that I'm going to show you, they're not available yet because this whole system is still in beta. When it does actually go into effect, you're going to be able to like list agents on the marketplace and stuff. So I'm definitely going to push to get this out there as fast as possible. So you will be able to actually go to the Breeze marketplace and be able, like, you'll see it up here as an agent that you'll just be able to like click into and then add as part of your agents that, you know, as part of your crew. And then when you open them, they just look like this. Nothing really special. You have your history on the side to go look through stuff that you've done already, and then you just type in whatever the domain is and run agent. Super simple. Use ChatGPT to write a prompt. How do you come up with everything? So yeah, it's ideation, right? And it's, when it comes to prompt engineering at this point, to me, it's very much like building a recipe. So like you have your initial idea that you want to get going with, right? And like maybe that's, you know, I want to, like most people, I want to audit my HubSpot CRM. Not really sure what I should be looking at. Can you help me out to build a prompt that includes aspects that I should be looking at for, I don't know, let's see. For what do you call it? Stability. They all care about cleanliness. Okay, so I usually start out with "Hey bud," but whenever I'm just like going, formalities are not my strong suit. So yeah, basically looking at it and saying, okay, well, do we want, you know, this is what I want to do, but I'm not entirely sure. So help me out with this. Like, what else could I be looking at, right? Here's what you want your CRM audit to focus on. I don't even, am I in a workspace? Oh yeah, never mind. That's all right. Data health and cleanliness, we want to look at property and schemas. Okay. Maybe you know this is the stuff you want to look at. Maybe you don't know. But either way, at least now we have this like sort of templated thing, or at least we have a beginning to it, right? And then we have this like prompt example. Could run this in ChatGPT, audit this for CRM cleanliness and system stability, evaluate contacts. Okay. Maybe it's taking everything into account. It's not bad. But then like maybe I want to go further with it, right? Because I'm building this into an agent. If I want to do that and I want to build out the instructions, it's like, okay, that's not too bad. But I'm not even joking when I say that the instruction limit for agents is like, I think it's like 15,000 characters or something like that. And a picture's worth 1,000 words. So your output should be as well, right? So if we started here and we say, you know, make this audit CRM thing. I'm not saying that I do this all the time, and I'm not trying to make a shameless plug either. But I would normally come over to Triple H. Unfortunately, this is a testing ground, so you guys do not have this live yet, but it will be live probably next week. And I'd say, hey, Harry, prompt for auditing my system. Change or add to it. More effective, and give me a output giving the problems, as well as tips or guides on how to resolve them. So you can do it one of two ways. I've gotten into programming a lot since doing Gen AI. So Markdown is a really understood format by a lot of Gen AI machines. So you can use either like 3 dashes, which represents a horizontal line, and then just paste whatever you were going with next. feed it to the GPT, and we'll see what Harry's opinion is here. So it's one of those things where like the model is like a person, and it understands like what it wants to hear, and it understands like how it should be talked to. So if that's what you're designing to, then that's what you should be asking in terms of like questions and stuff, is like, hey, we want to design this for use with an AI model that will be going to do this thing, right? And that's really like a really good, that's what we had here, was just a decent amount of context of like, hey, this is what I've got, this is what I want it to go do, and here's what I'm expecting in the end, right? So now we've got Harry telling us like, we could be more explicit, should have more prioritization, expected output format so that we know exactly what we're going to get and how it's going to look, and inclusion of audit metadata if we needed it. So now he's got, this more verbose version of it. Also an explanation on why it performs better. So like it, wants to do a checklist. No, I don't care. I just need this. Now I'm just going fast because I'm going fast. Normally I would take a lot of time to review this stuff. Because it's not always going to be exactly what you want. So from that GPT, I have a prompt developing GPT that's specific for like GPT-5 and Claude and whatnot. And it helps to put your prompts into what's known as a ROPO method. That's just acronym for role, objective, process, output, and examples. And so it restructures your prompt for you so that it looks like that method. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste that. So it tells you right away, like, this is what I'm going to return for you.
And that's a publicly available GPT, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you share that with the group, and we can add it to the YouTube recording too?
Yep. There you go. Okay. So now we've gone from audit my CRM for data cleanliness, process efficient, blah, 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 to you are a senior HubSpot solutions architect and CRM data strategist specializing in large scale system audits for B2B SaaS organizations. So the reason I built this prompt developer is because it does two things that people often forget to do. One, puts it in a structured format, and two, adds the context that you would otherwise forget to put into your prompt that would actually make it stronger and makes that extra like 99% difference. So you can see it's like we've got these very, very detailed instructions going on, reasoning and agentic behavior. So how it should actually go through thinking about things, how it should prioritize the information, what the roadmap should look like for when we're going to actually fix and repair things, validation that it should do in terms of what it's actually looking at, make sure that you're looking at it the right way. And then output format. So we know exactly what we're going to get is this table that's going to have these columns to it, and it's going to give us, data health and duplicates and all that kind of stuff. An improvement roadmap in the very end. And then, you can change this obviously, but it is what it is. Now, when it comes to examples is a very, very, very strong component in this. If you're really using this and you want to use it well, the good example should be nearly what you are expecting. It should be like 75% of what you're expecting. And then it'll hit the mark, no problem. Bad example is like just give it a bad example, and it'll stay away from it. So again, when it comes to writing, I don't want M dashes. Awesome. Give it a bad example that has a bunch of M dashes in it. Now you're not going to have that as much. Speaking of which, freebie, turns out that the M dash problem is actually a result of the model attempting to talk to you. So internally, it thinks that it's taking a human pause as if it were speaking. It picked that up from journalism. So basically, it's trying to write journalistically 24/7. And so if you use a custom model or a project or something like that as part of your instructions, highly suggest adding in there, like, don't like speak as if you are just putting it out there. Like, don't try to pause. Don't try to take any pauses or anything like that. I want to say I put it in Triple H, maybe? No, I got it in a different GPT. We've got one too many GPTs going on.
I feel like an insider now that you've referred to it as Triple H. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to drop that. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, Triple H. Yeah.
Well, when I couldn't call it HubSpot Harry anymore, which I was really disappointed about, but when I couldn't do that anymore, I was like, well, this really sucks because I really wanted to have it like be that close in terms of the moniker, but it's whatever it is. And so yeah, I just I changed it to that because I was like, well, that's an easy acronym for people to be able to pick up in the end. That should work out. So I just started like posting with it and then, you know, hashtagging it and all that kind of stuff. By the way, if you're ever working with new clients, always build a custom GPT of that client, because then you can basically talk to that client all the time and you don't have to worry about not being able to keep in touch with them or whether or not your content aligns with theirs or whatever it might be. To me, it's very simple. Yeah, sorry. Might not, you know, I've got a guide. So I'll post a link to that, but basically you're doing a website scrape and pulling as much, which now you can even do that easier with all of these different research tools. And you're pulling all that information together into files and then storing all of that in a custom GPT. And then you're literally able to talk to it as if you were talking to a representative of business. Just trying to find exactly the...
This is similar to like the way the knowledge vaults work inside the
Yes.
one, right? Just to be...
Oh, yeah. So if you ever want to keep it from doing things, critical restrictions is a like really great way, like safety protocols and critical restrictions, and then referring to them earlier on. So like saying like, hey, if somebody wants to do this, then yeah, Mallory, I don't hate to say it. I love to say it. Just start using it and become 5 years old again and ask all the questions that you can think of, and you'll just skyrocket, because that's all I've been doing is just, I tell people all the time, like, treat it like it's a person, because it basically is. You're talking to a brain. Context is king or queen. So give it, the more it understands what you're trying to do, the better it's going to be able to help you. It knows all the things, all of them, and it knows them better than you do. So whenever you get stuck and you get to a point where you're like, oh, damn, okay, well, now I don't really understand this. Ask it and just be like, hey, I didn't understand that. Can you break it down for me so I can understand it better? Or, hey, you know, now we've gotten to this point, but I don't know anything about SQL. You know, can you actually walk me through setting up a SQL table or whatever it is, right? Like, it knows. So it's like talking to the smartest person on the face of the earth, and one that has infinite patience to teach you anything you want to know. So yeah, that's how I went. Let's see, somewhere in here. Hold on, I'll find it. Where did I put it? Maybe it's like really high up. Yep, there we go. It's such an easy line. I don't know why. But this. So like, that's what it's doing. It's basically doing like this internal talking and like composition. And so you basically, and I'm not saying it eliminates it entirely, but you will get like M dash in like a full maybe 2-3 responses or something like that. It really, really cuts it down. Obviously, the more examples that you give to your GPTs or your projects, the more it helps. So if you fill the project or GPT with a ton of writing examples that do not contain M dash, and you tell the instructions to strictly follow the examples that you've given it, all right, well, now you're on, it's a whole different ballgame. It's the same for people who complain about hallucination rates. It's like, anytime I hear that, it's like, well, you're using an untrained agent or using an untrained model or something like that, and you're not doing it right. Because at this point, it's super difficult to get the wrong answer using like a trained GPT-5 model. It's crazy difficult to get the wrong answer. Yeah.
Question for the cheapos in the room. This is a paid subscription, right?
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't think I have anything that I use that's free at the moment, unfortunately. So yeah, anything that you see me use, I have at least the bare minimum subscription to. And I mean, like, I use a lot of tools. So I say that only to say that, like, there isn't a lot out there that I haven't found tremendous value in by taking that next step and like, oh, okay, let me see what the paid version's like. I don't know what the free version of GPT is like. I haven't seen it in a long, long time, but I can imagine that it looks insanely stripped down compared to like what the rest of us get. You know, I mean, I could even go so far, like, so agent mode, right? Like, that's in terms of having a paid version. You could say something so bold as, hey, let's go create an app key in my CRM. Please navigate to HubSpot and go to my account link or the login link. So if you have connectors, when you use keywords, the connectors turn on. I don't want it to go like to the actual CRM. I just want it to go online. Do I have a public list of what tools? I don't, but I will make one and post it. I know I've posted it before, but yeah, I'll make one and post it. Definitely the thing to understand, at least from my end. I know like other people might not say this, but okay, so it's trying to sign in right now, right? So I'm just going to click on this and I'm going to say take over browser. And yeah, I understand I might put some stuff at risk. Who cares? And then I'm just going to go ahead and sign in like I normally would. And do you remember me? Hopefully, this is so it basically creates. It doesn't. It creates a Linux browser environment. So that is the only drawback to what it is that I'm doing right now, because it doesn't retain your login information for a very long time. I think it retains it for maybe a few days, but I've seen other people use this for a long time. Let me see if my passkey. Oh no, because I don't have a passkey in there, right? Or are you gonna pick it up from Windows? That would be great. What's amazing is that like I'm doing this. You don't even really like. This is almost like a long way around for me because if you have Perplexity, there's a new app there. It's called Comet, which is basically a Perplexity's web browser. And that has its own agent assistant that works with it. So the same thing I'm doing here can actually get out of this and say, copy that. I know I move at a ridiculous pace. I'm sorry, we're not recording this.
It is recorded.
What's up?
It's recorded.
Oh, awesome. Perfect. Let's see. So yeah, it'll take its time and eventually, or actually, let me see, do I have to open this one? Yep. Okay. So this is the page that it's working on right now. It's navigated to the site, but it needs to log in. This actually uses my passkey. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Let's see. Cool. HubSpot, please, with the 3FA and everything. Secondary method, and that is, remember me, but it won't. Go ahead and say that. Okay, so now we're in HubSpot, right? Okay. Set up a, what are they called now? Legacy app?
I think so.
Just keep this.
It's when I know you're very excited to set up all the scopes.
I don't want to have to touch a single one of them, man. Come on, buddy. I know you can do it. Sweet. Okay. So you know how you'd like really hate doing that because you have to like go set up the key and then you gotta go click on it and click on every individual little thing and do that kind of stuff. This is you're watching the future of computing right now, right? Because all this needs, in my opinion, is a like voice aspect to it, so that I don't have to actually type anything, which technically I could just use the dictation voice input. Yeah, I hope you guys noticed that. Like it knew right away. It's like, nah, private app. We're not doing public stuff. So yeah, this is the future of computing to me, where you shouldn't have to do all this manual BS. Like it just, I don't know. It's by the wayside to me. And I can see this being, I don't know, super standard by the end of December, hopefully, I guess. So like prompting is one thing, right? But that's kind of why you'll see me like pretty much like lightning move through one thing to the next, because like, yeah, prompting is really cool, but now I have agents. So like prompting is nice, but while that's just to do like something for myself, now I actually have to learn this thing to talk to a person and give it greater context. So like if you think prompting for your own results is difficult, prompting to drive something that doesn't know what it is that you're trying to do, but it's supposed to autonomously go do that thing. That's a whole different ballgame. And I absolutely invite you to go download Comet. Again, it's, I don't know I think Comet's free, but I think to use the agent, you probably have to have a paid sub. So yeah, $20 a month. But honestly, it's worth it so that you can understand how this works and you can understand the limitations of it and just what you can do with this. If you think it stops at keys, it doesn't. I could legitimately sit here and tell it, hey, I'm setting up a new business. We need these custom objects. They need to have these properties, XYZ, get after it. Okay, off it goes. It has no limitation except to come back every once in a while and make sure that it's doing the right job by asking me like, hey, got to this point. Is this what you want us to do? Or should we go do this thing instead? So that's my demo on agents, guys. It's great to be here.
Can you pop back over real quick and just show us where you go in HubSpot to create a new custom agent?
Yes. So in HubSpot, let's go from the outskirt. So in HubSpot, you're going to go to the Breeze section towards the bottom there. And then Breeze Studio is like the overview, which is weird because they have an overview, but it's not really. It's weird. So you're pretty much just going to come into Breeze Studio. And I have gone through the paces. I'm really sure that you need to have superadmin in order to actually create agents. You only need Breeze access to be able to create an assistant, but I think you need superadmin to make an agent. I can understand the difference between the two because, again, assistants aren't necessarily going to update records for you. They read information. They don't necessarily do stuff. They don't necessarily change things within the CRM. Agent can absolutely do that, and it could absolutely rip apart your CRM if you don't know what you're doing. So kind of only want to have somebody that knows what they're doing behind the wheel on that. But yeah, just Breeze Studio, create an agent. Bob's your uncle. Any other questions? There are never
for add an agent.
So
I have add an agent, add an assistant, and create an assistant, but I don't have create an agent.
Are you in a portal where you have superadmin?
Yeah, I should. Or maybe I don't in this one.
That's the only.
Cameron got demoted.
You're welcome, Marcy. Yeah, I mess around with this stuff all the time. I'm very much into OpenAI's agent builder. I wish that it would be a little bit better.
Yeah, I've checked like 4 different portals now. None of them. I wonder if there's like a special beta you have to opt into or something.
I mean, you shouldn't have to.
I can create assistants and I can add existing agents, but I can't create a new agent from scratch. If I click on the little agents tab, it just says browse marketplace too.
Yeah, so that's what's weird is because it does the same thing for me in my production account, but I can create agents in my sandbox accounts.
Yeah, nope. It says interesting.
Weird. So maybe they're just altogether not allowing it for. Is that in a sandbox or is that a production?
I've checked sandbox and production accounts.
Weird.
It's also weird that it's like all.
Yeah, I'll look.
Cameron,
I'll look into that.
mine doesn't have create an agent. It only has add an agent. And I can create a new assistant, but I can't create a new agent.
Let me see.
For those watching this recording back, we'll see how this ages. I'm super admin and or partner admin in all of the accounts I checked. Yeah, it's just straight up missing the button for adding agents.
Yeah, it just has the 3.
Casey, does it let you create agents?
They should at least help you out,
Okay.
have it there grayed out so that you can mouse over it and it can tell you why you don't have access to it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing. And I've been telling them that there's like a lack of documentation around this. So unfortunately, with current documentation, there is no like setting on like what you have to have.
Nico, I wonder if it's, and I'm just spitballing.
Yeah,
in
please
case
do.
that's not clear from the way my voice is. I'm wondering if it's like partner admin versus super admin thing.
Oh, well,
Because
maybe.
there's a couple portals, like all of my client portals, actually, I'm not seeing it, but in the Profoundly portal, in the Value First demo portal, I am seeing it.
Okay, so maybe it is only partner access for right now, and it's not actually. But then Cameron, wouldn't you still be able to see it?
Yeah, I should still be able to see it then.
Yeah.
I have partner admin access in some of them.
But what
I
about
mean-
like Rev Partner's own portal? Are you able to see it there? Did you check that
I
out?
don't know. I'm not seeing it there. I'm not seeing it in any of them. I'm not a super admin in the RP one, so that one.
Well, I'm not a super admin in the Profoundly one, but I can see it.
I know. In the RP one, it's great. Like the button isn't there, but the other ones which I can't use are grayed out.
Yeah,
So-
so you should only need the Breeze Studio user permission.
Well,
But that question sucks because I know I'm going to get that in this upcoming week. People are going to be
Yeah.
like, I can't access that.
yeah,
What is it?
yeah. So as of this recording and this demo, it seems like some portals just don't have the button. I would presume perhaps maybe they enabled it selectively, which
I know.
would make sense if they enabled it in your accounts. But yeah, I wonder if they only enabled it in select accounts. We can all take to LinkedIn and find out. So we'll leave it on that note.
Yeah. There is. Can I take over real quick?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay. I see this Breeze Studio custom agents or custom assistants. I keep doing this. I'm just like, so I'm not sure if there's, do you have to,
So
I
assistant
wonder.
says-
I wonder if their labeling is bad. You have to opt into the assistant builder, but that gives you agent access.
Or
So-
or are you opted into this Breeze Studio one? I mean, I don't know.
I do have Breeze Studio in the portals. I just don't have the agent access. So
I don't know. Because actually this portal, I have it, but it's not in the custom assistant one, but I can create custom assistants. I don't know.
and
All
on
right. And on that.
Well, let us know.
Definitely
everyone
will.
do your experiments. Let us know what you find. Tag us on LinkedIn. Comment on our content. Nico, Casey, thank you for demoing and showing everything.
Thank you guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.